both coaches in front of the trophy over here. So as the Coach Holgorsen is leaving and Coach Swinney is coming in, we will stop them there to take a photo together at the trophy. Alex Gort, who is the Orange Bowl photographer, he will kind of play art director up there and direct how it runs. Still photographers first and then video immediately after. So we will make sure that there's enough time and everyone gets everything that they need there. Good, Alex? Great. Okay. In this room at 2 p.m. today, ESPN is going to make its talent available to any members of the media who's interested either in getting with Mike Tirico, John Gruden, or Ron Jaworski. So that will be here at 2 p.m. if you want to come back and get that. Of course, the media party tonight at 7:30 in the Ocean Ballroom here at the hotel, a casino party. Everyone is welcome, along with your significant others. So we hope to see you there this evening. There's also the official Orange Bowl pep rally. That's on South Beach this evening at 7:30 from 7 to 9 o'clock. The bands, the cheerleaders, Travis Tritt will be there. If you want media access to that event, please be sure to see Larry Wall or another member of the Orange Bowl Committee media staff. Tomorrow, the gates for the stadium open at 4 p.m. We will start buses leaving from here at the hotel just outside the rotunda here, just outside this room, at 3:15, and they'll run every 45 minutes up to 5:30. So 3:15, 4, 4:45, and 5:30. There'll be a post-game brunch, as we like to call it, that will start at 1 a.m., and that will be back here at the hotel as well. So after the game, after you're done working, we hope you'll come back and have a meal with us. A couple of people I want to recognize before we get started with the press conference. From the Big East Conference, Tom Ojakjian is here. So Tom, welcome. We appreciate you joining us. And then, of course, members of the Orange Bowl Committee, all donning their orange coats. We appreciate you all being here with us. Vicki Matthews, Mark Doucette, Tom Battle, Mark McCormick is here, Gary Cornell, Pete Seiler, and I know Jeff Roberts and Orange Bowl CEO Eric Palms will be with us later this morning. So we appreciate you all being here once again. So with that, Coach, we appreciate you coming down here. We hope you've had a good time getting ready for Bowl Week and the bowl game, the Discover Orange Bowl. 1 day left to go before game time. Is there anything left that you have to do with your team to get them ready to play?
Well, it's been a great week in South Florida. Obviously, the kids have had a great time. The hospitality has been great. The accommodations have been great. They're at Fontainebleau with lots of things to do around. The Miami Beach has been really a good time. We do have one more day of work. We're trying to make this as much like a game week as we possibly can. That's hard, and that's the challenge of a bowl game. But I think our guys have done a great job of focusing in when it's time to meet, focus in when it's time to practice, and we have one more day, which we're going to try to make exactly like we do a day before a game, what we've done the last 12 games.
We brought the weather in to make it feel like a little more 1 day before the game, too.
Yeah, we planned that.
Right.
Yeah, we planned that. But no, weather's been good, obviously. That's one of the things that makes this as good of a bowl game as there is.
So here's what we'll do. We've got 2 microphones. Rebecca has one and Brian has one. If you can just flag them down, they'll bring you the microphone. Just state where you're from and your question. So we'll open it up for questions now.
Ed Owens, Dominion Post. Coach, if you could, please just discuss your game prep, how you feel like you guys have done over the course of the past week, and if you ever feel like there's more to do.
No, Ed, we've had lots of practices, and it gets to a point to where if you keep working it, it becomes a little stale. So I think we've done a good job. The first 7 or 8 practices, most of which took place in Morgantown, were focused on a lot of our young guys to try to get our young guys better. That's one of the advantages of being able to be in a bowl game, obviously. And had really good work up in Morgantown. And then we got in about 3 or 4 days at Clemson prior to coming down here to where we've had pretty much a normal game week. So, the other 12 games that we played all year, we had 1 week to prepare for a game. So this situation here, we didn't want to have to practice 15 days to get ready for a game. That's not how we feel like it should be done. So we've taken about a game week and probably a half of a game week. So if anything, we've over prepared, and now it's to the point to where we just got to get to the game and put them in position to make plays, and hopefully that'll happen.
You've talked about the guys being ready. Does getting over-prepared apply to the coaching staff as well? I mean, do you guys get to a point where you feel like enough is enough, let's get to this game already?
Yeah, you got to be careful with time on your hands. Coaches have a tendency to outsmart themselves at times. So you got to figure out what your team does well, which we've had a lot of time here in the last 4 months to figure out what our team does well, and we just got to put them in those positions to be successful. Our job as coaches is to put our players in position to be successful and prepare them as well as we possibly can, which I think has taken place. I think our coaching staff's done a tremendous job of getting our guys in position, and now it's to the point to where we have approximately 30 hours to get them to the game.
All right, we'll go on the front row over here to the right.
Andrea Adelson, ESPN.com. Dana, I don't think you faced a tight end as good as Dwayne Allen since Nick Provo in the Syracuse game. Just wondering what you could take from that game in order to help you game plan for this one.
Yeah, he's a tremendous football player. He's a guy that can, that does a heck of a job of blocking. But with the scheme that Coach Morris does, they move him around a bunch, and he's a guy that you always got to keep your eye on. I mean, they're gonna get him the ball. He's gonna do a tremendous job of blocking. You had to bring up the Syracuse game, which that guy did have a good game against us, and if anything, we can look back at that, and if he's an eligible receiver, you probably ought to cover him, and I think we've got a lot of good work on that.
Stay right there in the front row.
I'll ask another one. This one's a little off topic, but the SEC once again is playing for a national championship, and you played LSU this year. First, just wondering if you're tired of hearing all about how great the SEC is, and second, what is it going to take for a team to be able to knock off an SEC team from winning national championships?
What have they won, 6 in a row? Is that right? So, if people are tired of hearing about it, somebody ought to beat them, I guess. LSU's a heck of a football team. They're the only team throughout the course of the year that has been able to win every game, which means they're probably pretty good. I mean, when they came up to Morgantown, I got a tremendous amount of respect for Les Miles, one, for what he's done over the course of the career. And, LSU's a program that does a lot of things right from a facility standpoint and a support standpoint. And, the thing that stands out about that football team is how confident they are. And I know a little bit more about them than I do Alabama just based on playing them, obviously. But when they came to Morgantown, we had as good of an environment as I've ever seen. And the people were rowdy, and our fans did an unbelievable job of getting there early. I think 2 hours before the game, it was packed, and it was crazy, and we had a tremendous amount of support, and it didn't faze them one bit. They came on the field, and they acted like they owned the field, and played with a tremendous amount of confidence for the entire game. So they're a great football team.
One seat over in the front row.
Dana, Tim Reynolds with the AP. One of the things coaches always talk about when you get to a bowl game is just how the 15 extra practices or whatever it is, how that really helps your young kids. How much is that somewhat overstated when you're in a BCS game, just because of you travel a lot earlier than maybe a lot of schools do? There's a lot of other distractions. There's a lot of other things going on. Or do you feel like your young kids really benefit from having all that extra time?
If that's what your focus is, you can do it a couple of different ways. And this is my 12th straight bowl game, and we've done things right and we've done things wrong every year. And one of the things that I think that we did a tremendous job of this year, and part of it was the circumstances. The one thing about when we found out that we were able to go to the Orange Bowl, the effort of our kids and the energy of our kids and the excitement level of our kids went through the roof. And so they were ready to do absolutely anything that we put in front of them because of the magnitude of the game, because of the excitement of the game, being able to play a great opponent, and on the only game being played and on national TV on the 4th. I mean, it was a situation where our guys were just tremendously excited about it. So they went to class. They were early to show up for workouts. They were on time and in our building more than they've ever been. So we got a tremendous amount of work in. We got about 8 practices with young guys which one allowed them to develop their skills, but two, it allowed our older guys to rest up and recover, which was incredibly important. And then when it was time to switch gears and focus all about the game, then we were rested up and ready to go. So you can delete those 8 practices and just let them rest, and if that's what your focus is, but that's not doing the young kids very much good. So really feel like we've made a tremendous amount of improvement over the last month as far as just moving forward with our football program.
I'll go back directly in front of you in the second row.
I know you've focused primarily on Clemson's defense and what you guys need to do against them, but offensively, what have you seen out of them? Has your opinion of them changed kind of as you've watched more tape, and how have you guys prepared to handle what they bring?
Well, my opinion hasn't changed. They're extremely talented. I mean, I was watching from afar, which 2 months ago, who knew West Virginia and Clemson was going to play? Nobody did. And watching those guys, I think, get up to 6th in the country or 5th in the country or where it was, they were on a roll, and everybody was taking notice of them. Taj Boyd's a heck of a quarterback, and Sammy Watkins is a heck of a receiver, and then they got their running back's 1,000-yard guy. I mean, they got guys offensively that are players, and shoot, that's going to be a challenge for us defensively to stop that. But part of the challenges that exist in a football game of this magnitude is you're going to play a quality opponent, and when you overcame as much adversity as we did throughout the year, and figured out ways to win. I mean, that taught us some lessons not only in life but in football, as far as just you got to hang in there and you got to keep playing. And if you get knocked down a little bit, you got to get back up and keep playing. I would expect that Clemson's going to make some plays offensively, and our job defensively is just to keep playing.
It seems like you guys have comparable weapons offensively. Does it make you kind of sympathize with some of the teams that have had to go against the offense you guys have had this year?
Yeah, our biggest thing as a football team is to figure out how to score one more point. And if they make a bunch of plays offensively, which we anticipate they will, we defensively need to line up and try to do our best to stop them. But offensively, we need to counter with that. And we need to do a good job of taking care of the ball and getting the ball to Tavon and getting the ball to Stedman and getting the ball to guys that need to step up and replace guys that have made some plays for us this year. So that's just the way a game of football works. And whatever you got to do to stay in the game and make it competitive is what you need to do.
Good morning, Coach.
Morning.
The last 2 BCS games yesterday, everybody talked about the offense, but it came down to either a kicking game play or a defensive play that won the game. Do you see that kind of thing developing when everybody talks about offense, and offense is legitimate like it'll be in this game as well, that somebody will have to make a defensive play or somebody will have to make a play in the kicking game somehow to decide this game?
I would anticipate that being the case, yes. So that's taking that game last night, which I watched pretty closely just based on being at Oklahoma State last year and coaching all those kids, and we're really excited for all those guys to win that bowl game. My boss, Oliver Luck, probably wasn't as excited about it, but you're exactly right. I mean, there was a lot of offense in that game and a lot of guys making plays. It's a 3-sided game, and that's the one thing that we learned about a month and a half ago. When we lost to Louisville, our team came together, and on all 3 sides of the ball, we figured out that if all 3 sides of the ball don't play together and pick each other up to try to be fighting for the same goal, then you're probably not going to win very many games. And that's the one thing that we did over the course of the last 3 games was play together. And in that South Florida game, we scored a defensive touchdown. We made a field goal to win the game, and we had a drive offensively at the end of the game to get us down there in position to be successful. And then you take that game last night, Oklahoma State's defense stepped up in overtime and shut those guys down. So it takes all 3 sides. In a game of this magnitude on this stage, you're exactly right. It's going to take all 3 sides.
Next question for Coach Holgorsen.
Jen Menendez, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Dana, have you named a starting safety yet for tomorrow?
No, not yet. You know, that Shaq Petaway's done a good job. Wes Tonkery's done a good job. Matt Morrow's done a good job. When you lose Terrence Garvin, who was our leading tackler last year and has played a lot of football, you can't just replace him with one guy. And all those guys I mentioned are all new guys. I mean, you know, Matt's a junior college kid first year. Wes is a freshman. Shaq's a true freshman. You got a lot of guys that haven't been put in that situation. So what you do is you plug one guy in, see how it works, and then if you need to take him off and calm him down and put somebody else in there, then you need to do that. So that's just how the game works. You never know how it's going to play out. Guys get in there, and if they're doing good and things are going your way, you need to keep them in there. If you need to mix it up by putting somebody else in there, then you will.
One seat over to our right.
Dana Mitch Vingle from the Charleston Gazette. Just wondering, before the game you explained to them the do's and don'ts of being down here. Any problems with any of the kids being in South Beach, or how did that go?
Yeah, it's been great. And we all had our concerns with it just because of what it's a busy place. And there's a lot to do. I give our team a tremendous amount of credit. And, you know, we named captains in the beginning of the week with Geno Smith, Joey Madsen, Keith Tandy, and Najee Good. And then we talked to the rest of the seniors about this is your team, and things are gonna there's gonna be situations out there to where you're gonna have to make decisions on whether you do the right thing or do the wrong thing. That's no different here than it is in Morgantown throughout the course of the week. And just was really proud of how the guys handled themselves, and the Orange Bowl guys did a heck of a job. And this is widely known as, if not the best bowl game out there, it's certainly in consideration to be talked about the best bowl game out there for a number of reasons. So our guys were treated great. You know, they had a great time at the Heat game last night, and 2 nights ago they went out and had a good team dinner and have really done a good job of enjoying themselves. When it's been time to do football, we've done a good job of doing football. When it's time to meet, we do a good job of meeting. When it's time to practice, we did a good job of practicing. Had a little jet ski incident with a couple of guys that's been riding jet skis their entire life. You know, that could have happened at any time throughout the year. So it's been good, and they've handled themselves well.
Front row to your right.
Kevin Kinder, Blue and Gold News. Coach, you mentioned you had made some mistakes or learned some lessons from past bowl preparations that you applied here. Can you give a couple of examples?
Well, every year we kind of look back on it and what could we have done different from a scheduling standpoint. Like I remember early in the first couple of years at Texas Tech, we were all over the place with our scheduling and stuff, and the routine throughout the course of the week has been such to where our guys wake up and understand what's expected of them. So I think the biggest thing is doing your absolute best of getting them into a rhythm. Understanding the fact that this is a reward and we want our players to have fun and enjoy it, but also understand that we're not going to occupy 8 hours a day of football time. That's almost impossible to do. I mean, there's a reason the NCAA gives you 20 hours a week to prepare for a single game. So you don't want to grind them too much. You want them to have fun, but you want them to, when there's opportunities to get off your feet, get off your feet. When there's opportunities to eat, you need to eat. When there's opportunities to enjoy each other's company, that needs to exist. But also understand what the goal at the end of the week is.
And in whatever downtime you have in these last few hours before the game, what do you do?
Well, and like I mentioned earlier, it's about getting into the routine of playing a game. So our yearly schedule of what we've been doing the day before the game, we've played Friday games, we've played Sunday games, and we've obviously played Saturday games. Well, whatever day that was, the day before is always the same. So we'll try to get this day to day to be as exactly like a day before the game as we possibly can. We'll have a walkthrough. We'll have a team dinner, and we'll go to a separate hotel, and we'll have a 10 o'clock meeting. We'll wake up, and it'll all be about the same routine as we possibly can. So spend a lot of time together.
I'm going to go 3 rows back, just a little to your right.
Drew Rubenstein, Dominion Post. Dana, several of your players deferred to you on this one. Can
Can you explain the T-shirts that you guys have been wearing with Insanity? Why Insanity's before the play hard, play smart, and play fast?
Well, the play hard, play smart, play fast that was the day I got hired a year ago is something that I talked about that quite a bit, just as far as, you know, it's been my offensive philosophy the last 4 years, but it's the team philosophy as well, just as far as, you know, playing fast. You need to play fast. I mean, it's a up-tempo game. It's turning into an up-tempo game. And not only do we want to play fast, you know, between the whistles, but everything you do, just do it with a sense of urgency. And I think our guys are starting to understand that. Play hard. I mean, it's all about effort. You know, you can't play with effort some of the time. You got to play with effort, you know, all of the time, especially if you play a good opponent. And you know, the play smart aspect of things, that's turnover margin and making sure that you're not penalized very much. And probably the biggest thing, obviously, if you look throughout the course of the bowl games, the guys that get penalized a lot don't win. The guys that turn it over don't win. So that's been the common theme all year. You know, the insanity thing it's just the whole definition of insanity. I mean, if you do things over and over again and you don't get different results, then you're probably not going to improve. So we've taken that to heart and just tried to get ourselves better.
Secondly, with J.D. Woods, how has he improved, I guess, over the last couple weeks leading up to South Florida, and what has he shown kind of in practice leading up to tomorrow's game?
Well, we gave him a chance, you know, and one of the things that, you know, as a head coach, you try to get your guys to be accountable for what their actions are, and J.D. wasn't doing a very good job of that from an academic standpoint to a workout standpoint. You know, he thought a lot of stuff was optional, so he wasn't able to play very much, and he wasn't, that was carrying over on the field. You know, 11 games later, he was functioning right. I guess he wanted to start playing some football when we were playing in Florida. You know, he's from Naples. So when we went to South Florida, he had his best week of practice. We put him in there, and he made plays. And then when we get to go to the Orange Bowl, I guess he figured he'd start practicing a good again. So he had 15 good practices because he gets to play in Miami. So I guess we'll play all our games in Florida, and he'll come out and he'll practice well and do what he's supposed to do.
Go all the way over here to the left in the second row.
Travis Sawchuk, Charleston Post and Courier. Dana, I think you have 8 players on your 2 deep who grew up within a 20-mile radius of the stadium. What would a win here mean for, you know, from perception to advertising your program, that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's a tremendous opportunity to be able to be down here, and we hope that you know, the exposure that's existed not only from a South Florida standpoint, but from a national standpoint, you know, the magnitude of the game being the only game on Wednesday night. I mean, we all understand that there's going to be a lot of eyes on us. So we hope that it can, you know, not only you know, advertise the program and you know, the school, but also you know, continue to try to lead to as many South Florida recruits as we possibly can. I mean, it's obviously there's people. There's hundreds of schools that recruit down here for a reason. We all understand that, and we've had a lot of success at getting some guys down here, so hopefully that will not only keep that going, but hopefully improve it.
Any other questions for Coach Holgorsen? All right. Coach, we appreciate it. Good luck in the Discover Orange Bowl. Yeah. We'll hold on to you for a few minutes around here just while we wait for Coach Swinney to get here.
Okay, thanks, man.
How you doing? I'm doing well. You are one of the few, the proud and the brave, right? Hey, the more people who walk into the orange coach, make it a lot of this obviously is great for those people, but you realize that the Clemson head coach stares at the West Virginia logo the whole time. All right, to members of the media, we're going to go ahead and get started with our second press conference of the morning. Of course, Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney has joined us. Dabo Swinney has joined us. Excuse me. Coach, you're now 1 day away from the Discover Orange Bowl. Is there anything left for you to do to get your team prepared and ready to play tomorrow night?
Well, we try to maximize all of our time, and we try to get them on as normal a routine as possible. And so today is kind of like a Friday for us, and we'll take them through what we call the game prep process with a little meeting and a walkthrough at the hotel. We'll actually go over to the stadium and do a couple things, but it's really all just mental. Just kind of start really getting them prepared to go and play at a peak performance at 8:38 tomorrow night. So that's about it at this point.
I'll now open up to questions. If you can just flag down the microphone runners, they'll come over and bring you the microphone.
Good morning, Coach. Tim Reynolds with the AP here in Miami.
Good morning.
You talked about it on the night the matchup was announced, just how this is the site of Clemson's finest hour and all of that, and I'm sure you've talked about this ad nauseum, so I apologize, but just what is the significance, do you think, for the fan base, that, the 30-year anniversary and all those things, all that symmetry, and how can that kind of help your kids, do you think?
Well, I think that, it's just been incredible from that standpoint, from our fans, and, it's, like I said, this is our greatest memory, if you will, as a program. And so many people talk about it. And, I mean, 30 years, that's a long time. I mean, you've got kids that were here that are now grown-ups, and you've got grown-ups that are gray-headed old men now. And, and they're writing you letters saying, hey, man, I'd like to get back there one more time. And it's actually very interesting because literally the first person I saw when I walked in the door this morning, slouched over in a chair, is Coach Ford sipping on some coffee. I mean, literally, the first person I saw. And that's what he said. He said, I told him they should have put him in the Hall of Fame at least 10 years ago here. We might have made it earlier. But he's, it's really neat to just see how it's all come together. And for this to be the year that Coach Ford is also being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And that's the year, after 30 years, that Clemson makes it back to the Orange Bowl and wins the ACC for the first time in 20 years. It's special. And, our players have taken a lot of pride in that because we accomplished some great goals this year. We didn't hit all of our goals, but we've accomplished some great goals. And, it's just good progress with our program, obviously, because we did things this year that haven't been done in a long, long, long time. And hopefully we can build upon what we've done.
Rebecca will go right here on the inside aisle, second row.
Coach, I know you don't know until you get on the field, but do you feel the team's as focused and prepared as they can be? And if you would guess, how well do you think they'll play?
Well, I think they're going to play great. I've never really felt like we're going to play bad. It's always a shocker to me when we don't play well because we practice hard and all those things. But we've had good preparation. It's obviously a lot to balance, and so you don't really ever know until they get out there. We've had weeks where we've had great practice, and I mean you just feel like you're fixing to light the world on fire, and you go out there and you look like you hadn't practiced all week, and so you never really truly know. There's a lot to balance here. I think we've done as good a job as we possibly can. I think our players have done a tremendous job. I mean, we've had no curfew issues. We've had no, nobody missing anything. We've had no drama, nothing. And that's a real sign to me that they're focused. That's a sign to me that the leadership has done a great job. We've been down here for quite a while, and to have 100-something 18 to 22-year-olds storm Miami all at one time for a little over a week, that's pretty impressive. So I'm proud of our guys. I'm proud of the leadership. The practices have been good, and but you got to go play the game. And the biggest worry that I have is we haven't played in for a month. I mean, that's a long time to not really, and we went full speed in Clemson as far as we did. We went live, tackling, scrimmaging, the whole deal, just trying to, offset that. We've been full speed here, but we haven't been live, kind of like a typical game week. And so you worry about that a little bit. That's probably the biggest thing. But as far as preparation and their focus, that's been good.
Over here on the left.
Dabo, given their style of offense, does pressure and their quarterback take on more importance than it would against maybe some other teams?
Well, I mean, they've thrown the ball for 1 million yards and 40-something times a game, and he's completing 65% of his passes. So, I mean, we got to be able to affect the quarterback, and the way you do that, one way is through coverage. You've got to be really disciplined with your coverage. People got to be where they're supposed to be. You've got to change it up. If you just do one thing, they're going to lock in on you pretty quick. They've got answers. But the other way is you get pressure on the quarterback. So you do that through scheme, but you also have to do it through winning matchups, both ways. And, we've prepared hard. Now we got to go execute, but that is going to be a key part of the game. If it's a 7-on-7 pass skill out there for them, it's going to be a long night for us. But if we can affect their quarterback and disrupt the rhythm in the passing game, get him on the ground, and get after the receivers outside, then we've got a chance if we'll take care of the ball and do the things we need to do on the other side. So it's going to take a complete team effort to win the ball game. This is a championship type game, and they're the Big East champ and ACC champ. If you look at these games that you've been, these type games that have been played, it's a play here or there, and because both teams are going to want to win, they're going to play with a lot of pride, and hopefully they'll make more mistakes than we do.
I'll go in the back row on your right.
Coach Brad Fralick, WYFF in Greenville. What's been the most fun part of the week so far?
LeBron James, man. Even though I didn't get to meet him. I love basketball. That was pretty neat. Get to go down to the Heat game, and what a great arena that is. So, I really enjoyed that. It's really all been fun. The beach was a blast. Seeing our guys. I mean, you're talking about a lot of these guys. Some of them probably never put their feet in the ocean, and to see them all down there just having a big time on the beach. Those are the things that. That go away. People talk about doing away with bowls and just going to a complete playoff system and all that kind of stuff. They don't see that. And I mean, to see these guys come to a town and be embraced for a week, and to see the things that they experience, it's awesome. Instead of coming in on Friday, play on Saturday, and gone, they get lifetime experiences. And again, seeing them down on the beach, seeing them riding the jet skis. It just puts a smile on your face. They've done a great job with this bowl. But for me personally, I would have to say, going to the Heat game was a blast. The motorcade here is a blast to see how that whole deal. I mean, it's unbelievable how they move us through the traffic. And Joe Stonecrabs. I mean, they said I could only have 5. I think I had 10. So I broke the rules. It's all been great. It's been a ton of fun.
Standing up all the way to the right.
Good morning, Coach. How you doing? Couple things for you. You just said a minute ago that you went live in Clemson. I've wondered over the years, listening to coaches talk about those kinds of things, do coaches actually think in their subconscious that players forget how to hit each other?
What now?
That players forget how to hit each other.
Well, I think that, it's one of those things as football has evolved and scholarships have been reduced and all of that. I mean, you're 100% invested every time you scrimmage. I mean, they're all yours. And that's why I've always kind of wished that we could go scrimmage somebody in the spring or even in the fall where you could not be 100% invested when you go live every single time. But I think that the way we practice, and we practice a lot like the NFL teams, probably more pads than them. But we try to go full speed thud is what we would do during a normal game week, and it's everything's live except putting them on the ground. And you worry about that over the course of the season. I think there's a cumulative effect of not finishing on some things. So we try to pick our spots. But during bowl practice, you know, we kind of treat it like camp almost. And, you know, you scrimmage during camp, you try to get everybody ready, and you just hope that you get them all healthy and get them to the game. But when you're, you know, all live bullets out there, it's a little bit of concern. But when you don't do it for a certain amount of time, you worry about, you know, some missed tackles. And I think you see that in the bowl games. I think it's obvious that that has an effect, the layoff. But that's just part of it, and it's the same for everybody.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about, I mentioned this to Dana when he was here. The games that have been played so far, the BCS games, have been pretty offensive. I mean, there's been a lot of numbers thrown up, a lot of stats thrown up. And in the end, it ended up turning out to be a defensive play or a kicking game play that decided the whole thing. I mean, there's a whole lot of points up there, and that's what people remember. But they forget that, you know, a ball laying 2 inches from going out of bounds probably decided the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
You know, a couple missed kicks decided the game last night. And that had nothing to do with the offense and nothing to do with the stats.
Well, you know, I always tell our guys, you know, when you're playing, when two pretty even teams are playing, it's 5 or 6 plays that really determine the outcome of the game. And, you know, you just don't know when those plays are coming. You have no idea. And so we try to take the mentality of, you know, just play every play like it's a one-play game. You know, win that play and then go to the next one. And that's the mentality you really have to have because, again, you just don't know, you know, when the play's coming. You know, so you can't relax. However many plays are in the game, 160, and plus your special teams. You know, you've got to play every play like it's the play that's going to determine the outcome in the game. That's the mentality you have to have because when you look back, that's what you see. It's usually 4, 5, 6 plays that changed momentum, created opportunity, and so forth.
We're going to stay on the inside aisle, second row.
My guess is indications are you're as healthy now as you've been all year. Phillip Price is in good shape.
Yep.
Andre's probably as healthy as he's been all year.
Yeah.
Speak to that.
Yeah, really. In fact, Coach Ford was just asking me that when I came in here. We've only got one injured guy, and that's Tony Stewart. He's been hurt obviously for a while now with a knee injury, but you know we're as healthy as we've been in quite a while, and that's really good. Nuke, everybody's asked about Nuke. He's practiced the last 3 days or so, and he's good. Price is as healthy. I wouldn't say he's probably not 100% like he was when he started the season, but he's close to it. And you know, David and Mason, we got a lot of guys that have been banged up and battling different things that I think are all, you know, ready to go one last time.
Front row to your right, Andrea.
Yeah, Andrea Adelson, ESPN.com. Just a little off topic, but everybody's chasing the SEC in terms of being able to win a national championship. Just wondering if you're tired of hearing about how great the SEC is and what it's going to take to be able to knock off a SEC team from winning a title.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. They've done a tremendous job. I think that their conference has been dominant the last few years from a championship standpoint. I think that it's a top-heavy conference. I think when you look at our conference, you know, and the thing that we have not done is we have not produced a national champion. I think it's coming. I really do. I think it's coming in the near future. But and we've made some great strides toward that in a lot of areas: resources, facilities, coaches, all of those things. Our new TV contract, all of those things have allowed us to close that gap a little bit from a competitive standpoint. But you know, they're still out front right now because they've won however many national championships now in a row, and somebody's got to knock them off. That's just the nature of competition, and that's our job to do that. It's other conferences' job to do that. If we're tired of hearing about it, then let's do something about it. So that's what we're trying to do. I don't really worry about them, to be honest with you. I'm just focused on trying to take another step with Clemson. And you know, if we hadn't lost a little focus, maybe we, you know, played a little better in a couple games this year. Who knows? We might have had our opportunity. It wasn't meant to be, but that's certainly one of our goals at Clemson is to be back in the national championship. And we kind of got a taste of it this year, and I think we have everything that you need at Clemson to compete in that arena. But we're not quite there yet. But as a conference, I really think we're making great strides. It's very competitive. I mean, it just doesn't matter who you play in this conference. Every single week, it's anybody's ball game. And I think that makes our conference very, very fun to watch right now because it is unpredictable. But hopefully we'll produce that dominant champion here in the next couple years.
Coach, I know in the middle of the season you had some of the guys off that national championship game come back and talk to some of the players. I forget which game it was. Maybe it was North Carolina game.
Yeah.
But have any of those guys been down here, and have they had a chance to talk to the players, or the players have a chance to hear from them on what their experience in Miami is like, kind of compared to what your guys have experienced this week?
Well, we were allowed to select an honorary captain for this game, and that was an easy pick for us because our honorary captain is on my staff, and that is Jeff Davis. Jeff is in the Orange Bowl Hall of Fame. He was the defensive MVP of the national championship game 30 years ago, and you know, he certainly had his opportunity on many different occasions to have a platform with these players. But I'm sure there's a lot of guys down here. In fact, I know there are. There's a lot of guys that have been coming in today, yesterday, but none of those guys have had opportunities. They haven't been around practice or anything, but I know they're all around, and they've sent messages and things like that. And you know, but that's about it.
We're going to go in the third row to your right.
Coach, Mitch Vingle from the Charleston Gazette. You were talking about your march trying to get to a national championship talk anyway. As you sit on the eve of the Orange Bowl, I'm just wondering if you could point back, reflect a couple things that really propelled you to this point to where you got to the Orange Bowl.
Well, I think the number one thing has been just guys believing. I mean, making the choice, because it's a choice. I mean, you know, especially last year we didn't have a good year, and there's a lot of negativity, and you know, it's just bad in every area, and you know, they have to hear bad, read bad, all this kind of stuff. You know, you have to make a choice when you're a part of something as to what you're going to believe in. And you know, our players have chosen to believe in the right things. They've chosen to believe in the vision of our program. They've embraced changes, and that's the number one thing. Because, you know, without that, you got no chance. And that's why we've recruited well, because our players recruit well. And when young men come on our campus. So that's believing, I would say, is number one. The other thing is, obviously, we've recruited some pretty good players, some guys that, you know, I mean, we can be the greatest coaches in America. You know, you get guys like Sammy Watkins and those type of players, you know, you're gonna win or have a chance to win. So. And then the other thing is, I would say, is leadership and accountability. We have had tremendous leadership on this football team, and every team is different. Every team is different. I mean, we have had strong leadership from our. We don't have a lot of seniors, but from the seniors that we've had, tremendous leadership since last January. A lot of accountability has developed on this team. And, you know, I got to give the players all the credit, but those are the things that have allowed us to have a chance to be here. We've, you know, probably overachieved a little bit this year with you know, a lot of changes and things like that. But, you know, the players set their sights on being here, and they got it done, and they deserve all the credit.
Stay on the right side in the center, Tim.
Coach, I'm going to lean around the shooter here a little bit. I think it's just your second time. Clemson's only second time down here since '04, even though you and Miami are in the same league. And obviously you recruit South Florida fairly well, and you're on TV all the time. But when you're actually in town, can you expect, you know, a tangible boost in recruiting South Florida when kids down here actually get to see the product live and in living color?
Yeah, well, we were down here in '09 too. We won
the only other time, I think.
Yeah, '09 and '04. We won in overtime, I think, both times. You know, yeah, I mean, it helps. I mean, anytime you can put your brand out there, and for us, to be able to, it's different. This is a whole lot different than just coming in and getting out. To be able to set up camp for 7-9 days or whatever it's been, and have that pall just cover the town and have the pall hanging over bridges and, you know, on buses and all that kind of stuff as you move all the way through. I mean, it's really neat, and absolutely that's a tremendous impact on recruiting, and guys have opportunities to, you know, come out and watch you practice and things like that. It certainly creates more awareness of your program, and you know, obviously we've had a lot of success recruiting the state of Florida. A lot of our players are from this state, and hopefully we'll be able to attract a few more guys from the South Florida area. I think the last one we had out of this area, in fact, his mom and dad came over and visited with me at the hotel last night, is Jacoby Ford. So he was a pretty good one. So hopefully we can get another couple of those type of guys.
Stay in the front row all the way to your right.
Coach, can you just talk about Andre Branch and the energy, enthusiasm he brings to that side of the ball and how much you'll miss that moving forward? Yeah, well, Andre's one of those guys, kind of like Dwayne Allen over on the other side of the ball, that has just grown and matured as a player, but also as a person, and has embraced being a leader. It's not something that he always embraced in the past, even though it comes natural to him. But he's a high energy, physical, you know, going to accept any challenge you give him kind of guy. And you know, he is, you know, I think been the guy on that side of the ball that's impacted all those other guys, and has demanded a lot of accountability from all those other guys. So he's had a great year. We're going to certainly miss him. You know, not just as a player, but because of the fire and intensity that he brings to that side of the ball.
We're going to go standing up straight ahead of you.
Scott Eisberg, WCIV TV in Charleston. Dabo, I guess coming to the Orange Bowl, 30 years ago, I guess you were a kid, but do you have any memories? I know you've heard a lot about that game. Do you have any memories of that game? And number two, for you, when you took over for Tommy a couple of years ago, what was your plan for how long it would take to get to a BCS game? Did you surpass that, or is this right on target?
Right. Well, I was 12 last time Clemson was here, and I do remember it because Danny Ford was the coach. And if you were from Alabama, you know, everybody in that state watched this game because it was Danny Ford. And, you know, we all love Coach Ford when he was a player at Alabama, and he's one of Coach Bryant's guys. And, you know, that's just what you did. Wasn't many options back in those days either. You know, had to, Laverne and Shirley or something on the other channel, or what's the Lawrence Welk or one of them, Hee Haw. I mean, it didn't have a lot of choices. I had 3 channels, so I promise you, I watched the game. I love football, but and then the other thing, the neat thing about it for me is when I moved to Clemson, it just worked out this way. I didn't know who Jeff Davis was. But we moved right in next door to Jeff Davis. You know, I didn't really understand that he was like the Joe Namath of Clemson at the time. And, you know, it's been neat raising our kids together. But I quickly learned a lot about the history of Clemson and the tradition, and obviously that ball game. But you know, Jeff had a huge impact on my sons. And I remember Will's, my oldest, one of our first Christmases here, literally, the only thing he asked for Christmas was a DVD of the 1982 Orange Bowl. And, you know, we've always driven a van, and we have a van, you know, with a little TV thing in there. And so everywhere we'd go, you know, that's all the boy wanted to watch. So let me tell you, I can tell you everything you need to know about that ball game because I've heard it over and over and over and over because we've worn that DVD out. But as far as, you know, my vision for Clemson when I took over, I really thought we could have, if we could just kind of take what we had and get everybody to bang. I really felt like we could have some success right out of the gate. You know, it was going to take a lot to really set things up for long-term success. I knew that was going to be a real process to go through, but I felt like we had enough to get it going right out of the gate. We had a few things to overcome. We had a freshman quarterback and things like that, but we did. I mean, you know, 2 years ago we played in this championship game in our first season. So, you know, we're an 86-yard drive and a couple of fourth down conversions away from being at the Orange Bowl. Not that I'm bitter about that. I'm going to counseling over that. You know, so we had a good first year, but last year was obviously disappointing. We competed our tails off. I think we grew as much last year as we did the first year. I really do. I mean, it's not always fun when you're dealing with things that don't go your way, but I just saw a lot of program things that were taking root in the process that we went through last year, and some positive change came from last season, and I think our guys felt like that we could get here, and I certainly thought that we could compete for the conference this year, and we were able to put it together. There are a lot of things that were going to have to come together, and we're fortunate that it did. But from a long-term standpoint, I think that we're up and walking as a program, but there's bigger and better things for us. We've got to continue to recruit. We've got to continue to invest in our people, and build this program to be a top 10 program. That's my goal. That's what I want it to be. I believe Clemson can be, the program out there. A lot of people may look at you and say, well, that's crazy. Well, that's fine. A lot of people say we wouldn't be sitting here either. And here we are. So, that's really all I focus on right now.
Go back to the front row in the center.
What makes Dwayne Allen so effective in your offense, and did you take anything from West Virginia's performance against Syracuse and the way their tight end was able to be effective going into this game?
Well, Dwayne is 6'4", about 255. He runs like a wideout. He blocks like a tackle, and has really improved in other parts of his game as far as like running with the ball after the catch, his flexibility, and got great ball skills, and he's got a high football IQ. So you put those things together, you're going to get a very, very good football player. And, he's tough and aggressive, likes to play. The moment's never too big for him, and he practices hard, studies, and prepares. So, and you put all that with just the physical gifts he's got. I mean, he's a great player. It's just hard for people to match up with a guy like that. I mean, what do you do? Do you play nickel the whole game, match up a little guy on him? Do you put a linebacker on him? And he's just a tough guy for defensive people to deal with, and you better know where he is. But in order to make him effective, you need other people. You can take one guy away, and we dealt with that a little bit last year with Dwayne. We kind of ran him in the ground, and we just didn't have – when we lost Ellington, we just really didn't have some other elements that we have now. And, whereas now we got a lot of people who can make plays. As far as West Virginia, I mean, they spread the ball around, and that's kind of their deal. I mean, if you look at their statistics, I mean, you got second and third team guys with all kind of touches and plays, and so it's very hard to just zero in on one guy. They got two guys over 1,000 yards. Their tight end has made a ton of plays for them. He's not just the Syracuse game. He's made a lot of plays all year long. So, they've got 4 or 5 or 6 guys that can really hurt you. And that's what makes them effective.
All right, just a little bit to your right, 3 rows back.
Drew Rubenstein, Dominion Post. Kind of going back a couple questions ago, what kind of significance does making the BCS have on you trying to move the program forward, and what would a win tomorrow night do for the program's profile moving forward?
Well, it just kind of, gives you relevance as a program. Just kind of solidifies that, hey, you're doing the right things. You're recruiting the right kind of guys. You've got the right. You don't just luck up and get to a BCS bowl. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to go in. I mean, it's hard to win a game. That's what a lot of people don't realize. I mean, it is really difficult to win a football game. It's months and months of preparation and a lot of things coming together. But to win your conference, to win 10. Is tremendous. So, doing something that hasn't been done in 30 years, winning the conference for the first time in 20 years, winning all of our home games for the first time in 21 years, those are things that you can point to from a program standpoint and say, listen, we've got tangible – you're not just talking about it. You're not just hoping for it. You've got some tangible proof that, your labor's paying off. And it just, I think, puts energy in your players, kind of puts some wind in their sails as you go into the off season. It's one thing when you're dealing with a bunch of guys who've never done it, they've never been there. I mean, they want to go there, but they've never done it. That's a whole different intangible, as opposed to when you look at a whole group who's been there, a whole group who's had a taste of being a champion, a taste of being at a BCS bowl. That's priceless, because it affects your spring, it affects your training, it affects your mentality, affects your recruiting, everything. And you want to do it again. I promise you. These old boys are going to want to be back here now. They're going to like it. So from a coaching standpoint, you have something where you can get on the same page with them, because you've all done it together and you've been there and experienced it.
We've got time for one more question. We'll do it just a couple seats down where that last one came from.
You may have answered this earlier in the week. How's Nuke?
He's good. Okay. He's good. He's practiced the last few days, and he's ready to go.
All right, that'll do it, Coach. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Good
thank
luck in
you.
the Discover Orange Bowl.